So guys, I'll be talking about the complement system, but we'll be talking about the triggers, okay? Triggers of complement activation. Okay. So the focus is for us to illustrate the triggers of complement system activation, right? Focusing on the classical pathway and the alternative pathway. So basically, this is a complement system. I could see that the complement system, the classical pathway has the C1, the C4, and the C2, okay? Coming together to converge at the C3, all right? Then we also have the alternative pathway, which has the factor B and factor D, okay? Coming to converge at the C3 too, okay? Then it ultimately leads to the activation of C5, C6, C7, C8, and C9, okay? So now let's talk. So that the complement system activation can be triggered either by what? Antibody binding to microorganisms and microbial envelope polysaccharides. Okay, so it can be either it can either be triggered by microorganisms or microbial envelopes. Okay, so this is it. This is a complement system. All right, talking about the complement system, the classical pathway, the alternative pathway. We have already shed more light on this. Now, so that both of these activate the early complement components. Okay, all right. So if microorganisms or microbial stuff, they activate the early components. Okay. Now the early components are this. All right, this and this. Okay, coming together to the C3 and activating the late components. All right. I've already made a summary of this whole lecture. So now, early complement component is made up of two different complement components. All right. Now these components are what? The C1, the C2, and the C4, and these are the ones that activate the classical pathway. Okay, we have classical pathway here: C1, C2, and C4. All right. Now, the classical pathway is triggered by antibody binding to microorganism. All right. Then how about the factor B and factor D? They activate the alternative pathway, and it is triggered by microbial envelope polysaccharide. All right. You see the factor B and factor D, all right, and they are under the alternative pathway. You see that they are triggered by microbial envelope polysaccharides. So now, so that the early components of both pathways ultimately act on the C3, okay, that's the most important complement component, okay. So if this pathway is coming and this pathway is coming and they are supposed to act at a junction, imagine that junction is not there, okay, they won't result into anything. So now we say that the early components and the C3 are proenzymes that are activated and sequentially limited by proteolytic cleavages. Now, a series of cleavages ultimately creates membrane attack complex K. Okay, that's the late components from C5 to C9. It's not C5 and C9. It is C5 to C9. We have C5, C6, C7, C8, C9. All right, taking you back here. All right, this image is too complex. This is it. All right, you see the two pathways converge at the C3, activating the C5, C6, C7, C8, and C9. All right, so that's it about the triggers of the complement system. All right, that should be antibody binding to microorganism or microbial envelope polysaccharides. Okay, so see you guys as we keep on. Bye for now.